In the early hours of Tuesday, after reports, 2 people have been critically injured. The reports.
Police said a man in his 60s was confirmed dead at the scene and 2 women, both in their 20s, were brought to the surface, but one later died. The second woman was airlifted to hospital for minor injuries and shock. Polymetal Resources, which bought the Endeavour mine in 2023, said all operations at the site had been temporarily suspended. It did not say what caused the explosion. The company's executive chairman, Dave Sprouse, said it was shocked and saddened by the tragic incidents. Fatalities from mine explosions are rare in Australia, with the most recent death happening in 2015 at a mine in Queensland, according to Safe Work Australia. Cobar Mayor Jarrod Marsden said it was an absolutely tragic situation. The most valuable thing to come out of a mine are the miners, and 2 families don't get to see their loved ones anymore, he told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, ABC. Cobar is a small mining community. It is very tight-knit, and I'm sure everyone's going to be thinking of their families today. A report will be prepared for the coroner, and an investigation into the incident will be carried out by the State Workplace Safety Authority. According to the Endeavour Mines website, it has been operating continuously from 1982 to 2020, and the new owners were in the process of restarting mining activities for silver, zinc, and lead metal production this year. The mine includes a 7-kilometer 4.3 miles decline and 300-meter shafts, the site said. NSW Premier Chris Means extended his condolences to the family, friends and colleagues of the workers who died. This is a heartbreaking day for the Cobar community and will be felt across the entire mining industry, he said. Safety protocols and procedures have greatly improved in mining, Means said. But the 2 deaths were a sobering reminder of why we need to always remain vigilant to protect workers. Temisekwe Oluwafemi reporting for BeeTv News.
Israel has received through the Red Cross a coffin that Hamas says contains the body of another deceased hostage held in Gaza. The Israel Defense Forces said his troops had taken the coffin from Gaza back to Israel, where forensic tests would be used to identify the remains. The reports.
If they are confirmed as belonging to a hostage, Hamas will have returned 16 of the 28 dead Israelis and foreigners it was holding before the start of a ceasefire 2 weeks ago. The latest handover came after the Israeli government said it had allowed a member of Hamas into territory inside Gaza controlled by the IDF to help Red Cross and Egyptian personnel search for the remaining dead hostages. Israel accuses Hamas of violating the ceasefire agreement brokered by the US, Egypt, Qatar and Turkey because it has not returned all of the hostages' bodies. The Palestinian armed group says it is committed to the deal, but that it needs help to find remains buried under the rubble left by 2 years of war. The Red Cross, the Egyptian technical team, and a Hamas person have been permitted to enter beyond the IDF's yellow line position in Gaza under close IDF supervision. Israeli government spokeswoman Shosh Bedrosian told a briefing on Monday afternoon. She also said the Egyptians would bring in more equipment, including tractor-type vehicles. On Sunday, she had said they were using 2 to 3 excavators and a similar number of lorries to carry out searches. All 20 living Israeli hostages were released soon after the ceasefire took effect on 10th October in exchange for 250 Palestinian prisoners and 1,718 detainees from Gaza. Israel had also handed over the bodies of 195 Palestinians in exchange for the bodies of the 13 Israeli hostages previously returned by Hamas, along with those of 2 foreign hostages, one of them Thai and the other Nepalese. Ms. Bedrosian said before Monday night's handover, 11 of the dead hostages still in Gaza were Israelis, 1 was Tanzanian and 1 was Thai. Hamas knows where they are located and there is no other option but for them to be released back home. Earlier, the group representing the Israeli hostages' family demanded that immediate action be taken to ensure Hamas handed over all the bodies. This includes delaying the second phase of U.S. President Donald Trump's Gaza peace plan. The families urged the government of Israel, the United States administration, and the mediators not to advance to the next phase of the agreement until Hamas fulfills all of its obligations. The Hostages and Missing Families Forum said it came after Israeli media cited an Israeli security official as saying that the Trump administration wanted to move to the second phase even if not all the hostages were found. On Saturday, Hamas chief negotiator Khalil al-Hayya said in a statement that the group was facing challenges because Israeli forces had altered the terrain of Gaza. Moreover, some of those who buried the bodies have been martyred or no longer remembered where they buried them, he added. All but one of the dead hostages still in Gaza were among the 251 people abducted during the Hamas-led attack on southern Israel on 7th October 2023, during which about 1,200 other people were killed. Israel responded by launching a military campaign in Gaza, during which more than 68,500 people have been killed, according to the territory Hamas-run health ministry. Evelyn Izibile reporting for BeeTv News.
Ivory Coast presidential election has sparked fresh controversy as President Alassane Ouattara has secured a 4th term in office amid opposition, boycotts and disqualifications of major rivals. The report.
Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara has secured a 4th term in office with 89.8% of the votes. According to provisional results announced by the Electoral Commission, his main challengers, former President Laurent Gbagbo and ex-Credit Suisse CEO Tidjane Thiam, were barred from running and had called for a boycott.
Monsieur le Président, mesdames de peuple souverain de Côte d'Ivoire, je jure solennellement dans l'intérêt supérieur de la nation.
Madame Ouattara, qui est une très grande administratrice,
going to be part of this recovery
for the future. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, sir.
Businessman Jean-Louis Billion finished a distant second with 3.9%, while Simone Gbagbo, Laurent Gbagbo's ex-wife, gained 2.42%. Voter turnout stood at 50.1%, reflecting the opposition's boycott of the polls.
À l'élection présidentielle. Tout cela m'amène à reconsidérer ma position. Qui ont besoin d'évoluer vers la paix.
Opposition parties have rejected the results, describing the election as a civilian coup d'état. Ouattara, 83, has been in power since 2011 and was allowed to run again after a 2016 constitutional amendment lifted the 2-term limits. Harmony Agbafo reporting for BeeTv News.
U.S. President Donald Trump has hinted at the possibility of seeking a 3rd term, saying he would love to do it through the U.S. Constitution's 22nd Amendment currently bars president from serving more than 2 terms, while Trump dismissed suggestions of running as vice president in 2028 as too cute and not right. It left open the idea of a third-term bid, citing its strong pool members. Former advisor Steve Bannon recently claimed there is a plan to secure Trump another term, though repealing the 22nd Amendment would require an unlikely supermajority in Congress and ratification by 38 states. Trump also named Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio as potential successors, while Democrats like California Governor Gavin Newsom and former Vice President Kamala Harris have signaled interest in the 2028 race. Cameroon's 92-year-old President Paul Biya has secured a controversial 8th term, winning 53.7% of the votes against opposition leader Issa Cheroma Bakary's 35.2% according to official results. The October 12 election was marked by violence and accusation of fraud, with deadly clashes erupting in Daola and Garoua as protesters alleged the ruling party attempted to steal the victory. Bakary claimed that security forces and snipers opened fire near his residence, while authorities have yet to respond. The unrest forced many businesses and schools in Yaoundé to shut down as tension gripped the nation. President Biya, who has ruled since 1982, thanked voters and called for unity, but critics say his victory signals a continuation of economic hardship, corruption, and political repression. Despite being praised for expanding education and resolving the Bakassi-Penelusa dispute, his leadership has faced growing discontent amid a decade-long separatist conflict and high youth unemployment. Analysts, including the International Crisis Group, warned that Biya's shaky mandate could deepen divisions and push Cameroon towards greater instability unless urgent national dialogue is initiated. Mali has suspended schools and universities nationwide due to a severe fuel scarcity caused by a blockade on fuel imports imposed by Islamic insurgents. Education Minister Amadou Sib Savane announced on state television that all education institutions would remain shut until 9th November, saying the movement of staff and students had been affected by the blockade. The reports.
The education minister said the authorities were doing everything possible to end the crisis so that classes could resume on 10th of November. For weeks, Mali has been hit by a fuel shortage, especially in the capital, Bamako, after militants from an Al-Qaeda affiliate imposed a blockade by attacking tankers on major highways. Mali is landlocked, so all fuel supplies are brought in by land from neighboring states such as Senegal and Ivory Coast. Long queues have been snaking around petrol stations in Bamako in recent weeks, and the city usually crowded streets have now reportedly fallen quiet. The military government had earlier this month assured residents that it was only a temporary situation, but the crisis has persisted. Last week, the U.S. Embassy in Bamako announced that the non-essential diplomatic staff and their families would leave Mali amid the worsening fuel shortage and growing security concerns. It said the fuel disruptions had affected the supply of electricity and had the potential to disrupt the overall security situation in unpredictable ways. Mali is currently ruled by a military junta led by Gen Assimi Guita, who seized power in a coup in 2021. The junta had popular support when it took power, promising to deal with the long-running security crisis prompted by a separatist rebellion in the north by ethnic Tuaregs, which was then hijacked by Islamic militants. The UN peacekeeping mission and French forces had been deployed in 2013 to deal with the escalating insurgency. Both had left since the junta took over, and the military government has hired Russian mercenaries to tackle the insecurity. However, the jihadist insurgency has continued, and large parts of the north and east of the country remain outside government control. Temitokwe Uluwafemi reporting for BeeTv News.
And now to the business news. Unicode Africa, a newly launched Pan-African cloud service provider, on Monday announced its entry into the continent's fast-growing $5 billion cloud computing market, pledging to keep African data within Africa and reduce reliance on offshore data centers. Let's join BeeTv News' Temitope Oluwafemi for more details from the business world.
This model means that a significant portion of African data, including financial records, government information, and private user data, resides on servers in Europe, North America, or Asia. While these global platforms offer scale and reliability, they also create dependencies that expose African nations to foreign jurisdiction, data privacy risk, and high operational costs tied to foreign exchange fluctuations. Nigeria's energy sector stakeholders will this week confront one of the sector's biggest challenges, which is closing the $34.5 billion funding gap needed to achieve universal electricity access by 2030, as stakeholders gather in Lagos for Nigeria Energy 2025. The three-day conference, which opens today at the landmark event center, Lekki, Lagos, will bring together government officials, regulators, investors, and innovators under the team Powering Nigeria through investment, innovation, and partnership. By the third day, attention will shift to gas and clean energy, the two pillars of Nigeria's dual transition strategy. The opening panel, Power Generation in Transition, Integration and Growth in Nigeria's Energy Future, will explore how gas-to-power investments are being reshaped by local ownership and new business models following the divestment of international oil companies from onshore assets. The Financial Institutions Training Center and the Nigeria Interbank Settlement System reaffirmed their leadership in strengthening cyber resilience, digital trust, and governance across Nigeria's financial ecosystem during the 6th edition of the annual FITC/NIBSS Think Innovation Cybersecurity Conference held in Lagos. The hybrid event attracted delegates both physically and virtually from multiple continents, reinforcing FITC's growing global reputation for thought leadership in financial innovation and technology governance. According to country manager of Shelf Global Limited, Walid Bu Absi, the conference created an idea platform for stakeholders to engage on the future of cybersecurity. Group Chief Information Security Officer of First Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Harrison Naji, commended FITC for its consistency in leading the national cybersecurity dialogue. Newly sworn-in president of the African Export-Import Bank, Dr. George Elobi, has expressed reservation about the concessional lending to African countries, warning that such loans carry hidden costs that often cripple economies rather than strengthen them. Multilateral lenders such as the IMF and World Bank continue to play a central role in Africa by providing concessional loans that are relatively affordable and long-term. Elombi warns that their hidden cost often outweighs the benefits. Temitope Oluwafemi reporting for BeeTv News.
And now to sports. Nigeria women's U17 team, the Flamingos, will face a formidable Italian side in the round of 16 at FIFA U17 Women's World Cup in Morocco on Tuesday. With a place in the quarterfinals on the line, Posh Sports Extra reports. The encounter is set for pitch 2 of the Football Academy Mohammed VI in Rabat and promises to be one of the most intriguing features of the knockout stage. There will be the first ever meeting between the two nations at this level. Italy, who have been one of the tournament's most impressive teams, qualified as Group A leaders after a flawless run of 3 straight victories, a thrilling 4-3 win over Brazil, a 3-1 triumph over host Morocco, and a convincing 3-0 victory over Costa Rica. Led by former striker Giulia Galli, the tournament's top scorer with 5 goals, the Italians have shown attacking flair and defensive discipline in equal measure, making them strong favourites heading into the tie. And that will be all on our 12 p.m. Global News. Join us later at 3 for our news updates. Bye for now. I am Ruth Obodo.